This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? What day is it? I think it's Saturday. There you go. Driven a few Ks today, quite a few Ks. Wasn't in contact with the world for a lot of it. It seems like a lot of things have happened after my little rant last night. So I haven't spoken to anybody. My daughter, when we got back into some sort of range last night, received a questioning SMS, I think it was, from a friend. Followed a link, found a few things that piqued her interest a bit. We found a bit more. And it seems that my reaction to the news that Guru was going on to 2GB to speak with Ben Fordham on Monday morning may have been interpreted, and I understand completely why, in a way it wasn't intended. So let me start out by saying I have 100% confidence in Guru. I have 100% confidence in the message he's going to portray. And I have 100% confidence that if he is allowed to get the message across, he will wake up many, but he has the potential to wake up many tens of thousands of people, maybe just a little bit. They don't have to swallow the whole red pill. They don't have to swallow every red pill. And I haven't seen anything that Guru said. I've seriously been in the car driving. I've driven 800 kilometres. So it's, I'm telling you, just off the back of some stuff that came through Cooker. What is it? Cooker Wanks? Watch. So I'll get onto them in a sec. Yes, I can completely understand why my reaction would have come across that it may seem I was laughing at Guru or the thought of Guru being on 2GB's breakfast program. And somebody apparently is alluding to the fact that I'm jealous about it. Far from it. Absolutely far. I could care less. Not about Guru. I think it's a great opportunity for Guru, wonderful opportunity for Guru. And like I say, he will perform admirably. I have absolutely no doubt. Guru's message is on song. He's a very strong orator. He'll no doubt be very well prepared, and he'll have some goals that he wants to achieve, points he's laid out that he wants to get across. And let's hope one of them is helping Ben understand what the difference between sovereign and citizen is. And how they can never be put together and used in the same sentence like they are sovereign citizens. Now, if we can begin at that point and we can get him to understand that, then maybe Guru can get a whole heap more people to look a bit deeper. Let's bear in mind here that Guru is not about convincing Ben Fordham. Guru is about convincing the people that are listening. Okay? So, Guru has that very much in focus, I'm sure, have absolutely no doubt. And if he doesn't, that would be my tip to him. No, we haven't spoken, but I haven't spoken to anybody today, really, bar two people, and hello to them at Port Macquarie. We stopped at the service centre there. Woohoo. Well, to family, really. Hello. I won't point out their names. They know who they are. It was great to catch up. And yes, what's Guru? Oh, hang on. Aaron, what are you saying? Guru needs to record the entire thing himself. Yeah, look, I think if Guru and Mel, and I'm sure they are talking to Kaz about this as well, I'm sure that they won't be invited into the studios, so they'll be doing it, I suspect, from on or around the boat somewhere, and why not do a live while doing it? I guess it would depend on how the audio out of the phone came out, but that could be pretty interesting, linked up live at the same time on Stop the Rot. And I'm sure they would be thinking about doing that. I certainly would. And if Mel is just for posterity, I'd be recording it. It's not every day you get on 2GB. So, yeah, all power to him. Now, yes, I did laugh and I did say, God, that's going to be horrid or horrendous. I haven't watched back what I said. And I can understand that I probably laughed and carried on a bit. That is because you've got to understand, and I didn't mean it in any insulting way to Guru. I was having a thought going through my head at the time. You saw me reacting to it, that it popped up in the chat, and you saw me reacting to it instantly. You saw my physical reaction. You heard half of what was going on in my head. And the first half of what was going on in my head was glee, because it will be fucking horrible. The bit you didn't hear, because it came out in my head and I never said it out loud, is that if Ben Fordham, I suppose by saying this now, I might even be derailing this. So anyway, my thoughts, knowing the industry how I do, and knowing how these talk jocks work, and knowing how their producers work, because there is a team behind Ben, and it's not just Ben, have no doubt. There is a big team. Now, Guru has a team behind him. It's Mel and Kaz and a few others. I have a very small team like them behind me, and a large part of that team is Cherie. Bloody huge part of that team is Cherie. And the Galactic Larrikins play a role in that team. My daughter plays a role in that team. But we all have differing views on things. Anyway, back to the point. When I said horrendous, it's going to be horrendous or whatever, my immediate thought was, from my professional perspective, someone who's been in the game 40-odd years, and someone who lives and breathes radio, or did for many, many years. Still do. I still love the industry. I love the potential for it. I love what it can do for communities if it is allowed to do it. I know why it's not allowed to do it anymore, because I've watched not only the why they're not allowed to do it, but I've watched their ability to be able to do it be sapped out of regional radio stations, in particular around this country, in name of the mighty dollar. And one day we'll have a conversation about that. Yeah, people can tell. If people think I am bitter, the bitterness you see in me is I am bitter at the industry that it's let itself do this to itself. This industry has cannibalized itself. Admittedly, it's had governmental help to do it. But this industry, if you were to know the true ins and outs of it, cannibalizes itself. It eats talent and destroys it. It attracts creative people. Creative people can be different sorts of people. You can be creative in different ways. And it breaks a lot of them inside 2 years. Breaks them. And there's 1,000 stories out there of people who've been broken by big name Sydney TV and radio people who are bullies. I'm not accusing Ben Fordham of being a bully in any way, shape or form. In fact, I've been a fan of Ben Fordham's television work and his radio work. I think he's a great presenter for what he is. I don't agree with him being as ignorant to many of the facts that he is. And if he isn't ignorant to the real facts, then that puts a different sway on what he's saying, what he says, and how he promotes, particularly things like that. There are other announcers at that radio station that I've had a past association with. Just one, if I'm honest. And I would extend an offer to him if he wants to come on the Voice of Freedom and come and have a chat. Then I'm all up for that. We can have a civilized chat. I doubt very much he would extend me the offer to his program, and quite frankly, I wouldn't accept it. There's a reason for that. People like Guru and what he's going to do on Monday, in some cases, regardless of how he handles it, but I know Guru, professional. He's going to know his shit. He just has to sit in the boat, be happy, and know that he's just having a phone conversation, because that's all it is, right? Whenever you have ever rung up a radio station and you get nervous when the guy or girl behind the mic says, "Oh, listen, I'm going to put you on the radio just so you can scream and shout because you're going to win a can of Coke and a packet of chips." And you may have had the experience where you haven't screamed and shouted enough, and they've come back on the phone and said, no, you weren't anywhere near excited enough for your can of Coke and your packet of chips. I need you to really hype that up, or I'm going to hang up on you and give it to somebody else. Yeah, it happens. It was all about reaction. Because if you said, "Oh, gee, great, thanks," didn't mean much about the prize they just spent 20 minutes promoting and all the sponsor promotion around it. There's no bullshit about Guru. He's going to walk in, and if he's allowed, he will be, I think, very convincing in everything that he has to say. Now, he's not going to convince everybody. And of course, the listeners predominantly to that radio station are not going to be inclined to be hearing the message that we are speaking about. But that's why radio stations like 2GB and every other form of mainstream media's ratings are dying. People like Guru, people like the Aussie Cossack, and I guess to a certain extent me, but there are others. We are the new media. You're watching through that box, whatever channel you happen to be, not me in particular, not the Voice of Freedom in particular, but whatever else you watch after this, we are the new media. I don't know how many people Ray Hadley's going to get when he drives 800 kilometres and cares enough about not being divisive in the ranks, but understanding that my reaction to the video last night, what you saw, could have been interpreted as me having a go at Guru or laughing at Guru. And I apologise if that was the way that it was taken, because that is in no way how it was meant. Because in my mind's eye, I saw the decimation of the mainstream media industry in Australia beginning. I saw the first anchor stone being cracked on Monday, or potentially on Monday. But the first anchor stone has been cracked by the simple recognition that there is a man named David Guru Graham, and he is willing to give up his own time on Australia's Day to try and help people understand why there were, I reckon, close to 2 million people in Canberra nearly a year ago. And I would like my mainstream media colleagues, even if some of them don't think I'm still in the mainstream media anymore. I don't know how many radio station managers might have been sent an email or will be in the next week or so to make sure that my voice is removed off every radio station commercial they have. That's going to piss a few of them off. Some of them have been playing some of my stuff for 10 years. I've never been paid for it, not past the first time I ever read it, if I was paid for it then. But I know. They like the ad so much, or they like the voice so much, or they like the way I read it so much. For some reason, they've clung onto it because they must have had oodles of other young, enthusiastic radio announcers come through and want to read radio ads, surely. But I know. My stuff's been playing for years on some of the radio stations around this country that you listen to. The only difference is now you're seeing me, but you've been hearing me for years. And trust me, I could care less about getting on 2GB with any Ray Hadley or Ben Fordham or, you can't get on with Chris Smith anymore, can you? Because he, got pissed at a Christmas party and started doing allegedly sexually gross things that had him asked to resign or was dismissed, whichever way it worked. Not just from there, but from his Sky News position as well. A lot of his colleagues came out and I think Ben was one of them, condemning his actions, rightfully so. I don't know who else works on 2GB. I don't know who got his job. I don't care. If indeed there was a reference to me and something that either of them said in their handover on Friday morning, I don't know if they were referring to me or not, but, if it was me, I don't care that I'm not on mainstream media anymore. I don't care. I don't have to hear my voice on every radio station between Melbourne and Cairns as you once used to. If you had a driven from Melbourne to Cairns and you were listening to a commercial FM radio station along the way, didn't matter which one, you heard my voice, one way or the other. There were a lot of other stations, but that was all taken away through the industry. So if I am bitter, it's bitter at the industry and the fact that it will be horrid. It will be horrendous. It will be horrific to watch that crack that has been opened by giving Guru the time he can use very wisely, very well on Monday morning with Ben Fordham, to not just open the crack in that anchor stone, but to smash it. And that, my friends, puts a smile on my face, because it will come crashing down. Mainstream media has to come crashing down. While there are people in the mainstream media who think they are the news makers and that they actually have a following outside of their little territorial transmitter areas and their, tweets. And we'll get on to me and tweets in a minute. I don't think they know with which they play by inviting Dave Graham on. I applaud their decision. I applaud it. I can't thank Cooker Watch enough for feeling the pressure that I feel John Wilson has placed on Cooker Watch, because Cooker Watch has been smashed, and I mean smashed, by John Wilson in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it is. I mean, it is embarrassing to watch them scatter when they get into one of their little, I don't know, do you call it a tweet storm or a tweet drum or whatever you do when you're all bashing tweets around at each other and getting empowered by the bullshit with which you tweet. At any rate, John loves to get involved in those. And good God, when he gets in there, Anyway, all power to Guru. That's what I am saying. And no, there is absolutely no jealousy on 2GB. And if they felt the urge to call me, they'd probably have to convince me, because I know the tricks. What they do is they put you on the phone, and many of you who've had a differing opinion to your favourite talkback jock, doesn't matter what capital city it is, the tactic will be to get you to say whatever it is. If you disagree, they will, rebut you once or twice. They will suggest you're a bit silly. They will not allow you to elaborate. And when you try to elaborate, they will fade the phone down. They have the ability just to fade the phone down at their end. You can keep rabbiting on, but nobody hears it. And then they are very skilled at saying, well, not everybody agrees with that kind of situation. And gee, thanks, Dora, for your call. We'll move on to Fred's call. And Fred will say, Jesus, what the hell was Dora thinking? My God, what crazies live in this bloody world. And he'll say, yeah, I don't know. Dora must have missed a pill this morning. She just, that happens. But, good on you, Dora. Thanks for calling in. And that's how you fence it in a talk radio show, right? Now, they're going to try and do that to Dave. That would be the tactic they will use when he starts hitting truths or starts asking questions of them that they're not prepared to answer. They'll just, essentially cut him short. So what does that mean? That means great. To me, if I was a listener of 2GB or any talkback radio network or any radio station that does that, doesn't let somebody finish what they're saying, doesn't let somebody explain, particularly on a basic point, like the difference between sovereign and citizen. That's the most basic point. Ben had it wrong from the moment he said those words. Now, if he can understand that and not fade Guru down while Guru is trying to explain that to him, if in fact he chooses to go that way, Guru might have 100 other just as basic explanations. Doesn't have to use that one. Then it's difficult then for Ben to explain why he faded him down, if people ring up and ask? Was Ben not understanding what Dave was saying? Would be my question. Is that the case? Or were you being rude? Were you being simply dismissive because you felt you couldn't understand it, so how could your listener? Yeah, I think there's a great opportunity for Guru to do huge things. And I solidly believe he can, 100%. It's better that in any which way you look at it. No, it's better I don't say that. I have a history in the radio industry, okay? There is a reason that I have a history. I think we've discussed previously that I didn't mind a drink back in my younger days. I was a dickhead and probably made some fairly stupid decisions. And that'll be what the radio industry probably remembers about me most. I can point out a few other things. Certainly that'll be what radio station management in some areas might remember about me. I also made them a lot of money. I was a real conundrum to them because I came with a lot of talent and a lot of resilience and made them a lot of money, gave them a lot of ideas, and they made a shitload out of it. What they do with me? Well, I was a bit prickly. I didn't like being lied to. I have a real problem being lied to. So trust me when I say, when mainstream media comes down, it will be fucking horrendous, and I'm going to love it. Yep, I am bitter. Yep, I'm happy to see it happen. And whatever role I've got to play, I'll play. I don't have to play a role in 2GB. This is the new media. And a lot of the players, including Cooker, Watch, has no idea of what I have in plan for the Voice of Freedom. But you can be 100% guaranteed it isn't about Carl Liebold. 100% guaranteed. And I will hopefully have some interesting news for you on that in the not too distant future. Now, I've written a few notes here that I've got to look down to see if I've managed to cover. Yes, I think I've spoken about Guru enough. If that's not enough and there is an apology to be made in person, I'm more than happy to do that. I haven't spoken about Cooker Watch yet. Yes, right. Ben, yes, the way that they work. Oh, yeah, Voice of Freedom. Right. So, briefly, Voice of Freedom will change a lot. And I hope it changes rapidly, but that requires a number of different things. Not least of which is content. Now, people like Aussie Cossack, people like Dave Graham, people like Ricardo Bosey, are people I've been looking at the whole time in the back of my mind to help provide content to an Australian channel. And that's what I'm working to create. Something for everyone, a truth channel for Australians. Not some bullshit bloody, mega little media empire for Carl. All right? I'm looking to build Australia's truth channel. That's simple. And in this business, you've got to find out who's real, who the bullshitters are, who has talent. And trust me, I can identify talent. So what have I been doing for the last however long this thing's been going? I've been identifying talent. That's it. I've been seeing if I can work with talent that I identify. I've been seeing how true they are. I've been seeing if I can trust them, how honest they are to me, and how honest they will be to you, the people. Because the last thing I want to hand over to somebody is a time slot on a TV or internet channel that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll be able to turn on the webpage and have a show come on from your favourite broadcaster, whichever one you'd like. That's what I'll create with this, with your help, if that's what you want. A truth network. And we are a long way to creating it. All the gear, just need the wheels. No studio. Australia is our studio. The people's homes, the people's houses, the people's parks, and their dogs are all welcome. All welcome. It'll be a people's network, a people's truth network. And we'll see whether or not the government will give us 12 months tax-free rebate on all our earnings, like they're giving mainstream media. We'll see if the government might fund us $15 million to establish this around the country and create unity in community in line with Darren Bergworth's design for My Place. I don't care about using mainstream media to create that. That's why I wouldn't, in the first instance, take up an offer to talk on any of those channels because of my history in radio. No, they are the old media. Me and the ones I've mentioned, me reluctantly, can I add, and the others I've mentioned, and others I have identified yet and haven't approached because I've got nothing to give them except a dream, a goal, show them the need, show them how we deliver them to fill that need, show them how we can be of service to you. That's what the Voice of Freedom's about. It's not about Carl Liebold, not about money in the bank or donations or buying a house, motorhome, going on a holiday. Got nothing to do with that. At the end of all this, if you stop watching, if you all think I'm full of shit, I'll just stop talking and I'll go back into the obscurity that I have enjoyed all my life. If I do have an ego, it's been satisfied. I got to the highest point of the career that I chose, and it was discovered I couldn't get along with the people who worked there, is probably the best way of describing it. And now, after a lot of investigation, the last 3 years carrying on, I now know why I didn't get along with them, because at the time I didn't. I genuinely had no idea. But the lies, the deceit, the two-faced bastardness that I played in, you know, my father once said to me, after a particularly torrid time in my career, he once said to me, I don't understand why you're playing in this industry. I reckon I just found the python. Yeah, I think that's the python. I know it doesn't sound like a python, but there is a very large tree in the background there. I'm missing a python. There was one here when I left. I think we found her. It's all good. And a bat, by the sound of it. Shit. Now, where was I? Forgotten where I was. Anyway, the goal is to create something for you, the people. Nothing about me, nothing about... I would go back into the obscurity. My ego was satisfied. You heard me. You've been listening to me all your life. You just don't know it. One day, if I really needed, and it wouldn't be an ego boost, I'd feel guilty about doing it. But you can probably find them online somewhere. You can find my voiceover auditions. You can hear what I used to do for a living before I got so disgusted at the fee they wanted to pay me for it and made it an unlivable wage. Basically, I could care less if I ever worked in mainstream media again. I give you my voice for nothing. Whatever you want. Happy to give it to you. If you want to give me something for it, that's great too. But if you can't afford that, but you want a voice on your ad, you can have it for nothing. My industry's devalued it to that point. So why have I got any right to charge you any exorbitant rate for it? You can have my voice for nothing. I give it to the people. It's yours. I couldn't give a flying, about mainstream media. It's poisoned. It's evil. It's controlled. And what's more, In many cases, there are morons behind microphones, and no amount of logic, no amount of proof, no amount of evidence will convince them that they are wrong or have been misled or that the curtains have been pulled over their eyes in some way. And as far as I'm concerned, there are only two excuses for that: abject and total stupidity at being able to deny what I consider and many others consider irrefutable evidence, or at least to question, to deny everything and not even be able to raise a question in their own minds about it, indicates a level of intelligence that, while being, usable, should not be in communication with the masses, because they can't be trusted to see where there might be some bullshit. They can't be trusted not to take the money. They can't be trusted to do the right thing by you. Why? Well, I'm starting to suspect that it's because they're being manipulated by their bosses, who, own the Australian companies, but at the end of the day, they're all owned by Americans. All media is owned by, 6, 7 guys in the world? That's absolutely true. Everything is generated out of the US or out of Europe. Only local, and when I call local news, big stories out of Australia, that's local news. It gets generated in the mainstream media. Then it gets regurgitated back to us and interpreted. If you doubt that, and you happen to work in commercial radio, you work in breakfast radio anywhere, you're part of a breakfast team, what's the first thing you do? You go and look at the gossip mags, you go and look at the papers, you go and see what's making the news, you feed the latest story about the latest rapper doing something stupid to some girl and getting arrested, or worse still, you ignore the story about a very famous rapper and what do they call them? Influencer, caught in Romania and put in jail and facing sex trafficking charges and sex slavery charges, I believe, allegedly. Do you tell the world about that? Sure you do. Some of you do. Some of you won't. Some of you will say, oh, God, that's bloody awful. But then you review and say, well, God, there's a lot of them popping up, R. Kelly and a few others. A lot of weird stories about that. Geez, does it start to look like a pattern? What are the words in these songs really saying to us? What's that Balenciaga song? So anyway, I think that's probably enough on all of that tonight. I am genuinely wrapped for Guru, and if any man can swing a pick into that anchor stone and tear the bastard clean out of the corner of the wall, or the cornerstone out of the wall, it's Guru. You ever hug the man? He's like a tree, he's hard. He just doesn't have a hard body. He's pretty hard all around. Takes shit, swings back, delivers as good as he gets. And trust me, if he is allowed, he's going to change a lot of people's minds, or at least make them inquire. And that's great for us. It's great for everyone in the movement, absolutely everyone. And so now I've let the secret out of the bag of where I'd like to see Voice of Freedom go. I will tell you that before Aussie Cossack had his first injunction with the law and wound up inside for a while, we were having a conversation about building this channel together. And I was quite excited at the fact when he asked me, one day he said to me, do you ever think I could be on Sky News? And I said, well, never say never, because we never do in the radio industry, or the TV industry for that matter. Never say never. But in his case, I think there'd have to be a significant change of ownership before they gave him a show. And then he said, what about Ray Hadley? I'd love to go up against Ray Hadley. Well, I said to him, that's something I'd love to see. That'd be a challenge for you, Ray. Head to head with the Aussie Cossack. I'd love to make that happen on the Voice of Freedom channel for the people, not for Carl Liebold, not for Carl Liebold's ego. Carl Liebold's Not yet 60, but I'm happy to roll off into the sunset. And if you want me to speak occasionally, that's great. But it's no wuckers to me if I don't get my head on the TV or on the phone or on what digital device you're operating on. So, yeah, ego ain't my thing. Not in this vein anyway, because we're all working for the same goal. I trust them. We're working for the same goal. We're working for you. There are others, like I say, that I've identified. Others I haven't talked to yet. Some I have. There's a great deal of interest in what I'm proposing. It costs money to set that up. And at the appropriate time, it will come to life. And, you know, God willing, sooner rather than later. But that's all I want to have happen. That's it. Now, Cooker watch, Cooker. Yeah, I just feel a bit funny about Cooker watch. Because of the history that I've had in mainstream media, I don't care what people who don't like me think. That's not because I'm being dismissive of you or arrogant or anything like that. It's just I can't be all things to all people. And I've learned over my career to understand that. So it's okay for you not to like what I say. It's fine. Please don't expect me to react to it because I don't care if you don't like me. The flip side of that coin is you say, oh, geez, you care if I do like you. Well, no, I don't. If you don't like me, you won't watch. And YouTube have proved that there are a lot more people who want to watch than are allowed to, just simply by the simple suppression of the likes and the, what's the other thing? Subscribe. I'm shithouse at mentioning it. You see, if I was financially focused, I'd be drumming that into you every second. You know, like and subscribe. Because, yes, the channel is monetized. I think I got money last month from, it was less than $600. So I'm happy to show it to you. I can't bring it up at the moment on Rumble, but I got my first email recently from Rumble that said I could take out some money, $50. I don't know how long I've been on Rumble. Don't know how many people have watched the programs on Rumble because I'm not focused on it. If you want to watch, you'll watch. If you want to find it, you'll find it. I'm shithouse at promoting myself. I'm very good at promoting your business. I'm not motivated to promote myself. Nameless, faceless voice. That was always me. And I was happy with that. So the fact now that you've seen me leads me on to Cooker. I believe she's been probably blocked and now unblocked by Kaz and Guru. And she has wanted to talk to them and associate other bits. If she's having trouble contacting someone to talk to, I'm happy to talk to her. In fact, I'm happy to have her on the show. So contact me, Cooker, Carl at VoFHQ.com. I'm sure you've, pardon me, heard that address before. You've listened to the show a lot. A lot of your snide little trolley friends have certainly heard it before because I get a few emails from them. I have one proviso to having you on the show. Call it old school broadcaster. You are not, if you think I'm of any influence in this industry or I have any intimate knowledge or whatever, you are not in any danger from anyone in our movement. You show and allow to be shown through your, I don't know, is it a channel? What do you call it? Twitter? Do you call it a nest? See, I have a Twitter account. Couldn't tell you how to drive it. I only have it to annoy people like you. And I just put shit out there and sometimes when I remember. I don't care enough about you. I don't care enough about Twitter, the echoed drum, the chamber of bots. I don't care. But you've risen, shall we say, and you have been extremely entertaining, so much so, and the Galactic Larrikins, who I think are still in the chat, will back me up on this, that we have decided that together, the Galactic Larrikins and the Voice and Freedom would love to do a program about the creativity of memes and insults and comments that your crew come up with, because we roar laughing, and some of them are extremely clever. I mean, really, really clever. God, I wish some of you were on our side and were awake. You would be some of the most powerful weapons we would have in our arsenal. But unfortunately, you're coming out of a limp quiver. You believe you're in the majority, but you're not. So, and I don't care whether you like me or not. I don't care whether you like the Voice of Freedom. If people are listening to your advice on their Twitter nest, whatever it's called, then they're never going to be listeners of mine. Certainly not never going to be likers of mine. They're not going to like what I have to say unless they have an open mind and can review things logically, independently, and confirm things for themselves with an open mind. It's all I've ever had in this whole process is an open mind. I haven't had a desire to become rich. I haven't had a desire to become a star. I haven't had a desire to be anything other than honest with you, because nobody else in my fucking business was. And they wouldn't let me, when I was on their channels, on their radio stations, pulling their breakfast shows, pulling their drive shows. They weren't letting me. And for those that you think that was a long time ago, I think the last time I pulled a live breakfast show was October last year. You might also discover that also coincided with the time the Voice of Freedom really went on the road. So me leaving the industry coincided with me probably being fed up with it, fed up with the bullshit. And now I know why they suppressed me, stopped me from giving an alternative view. Not ranting, not raving, because I'm a professional. I know I'm professional. I'm not going to rant. I'm not going to rave. But I am going to deliver the information in a way that the listener might interpret enough to become, to start looking into it, to start to want to inquire into some of the things that I say. And others won't. Others will dismiss it. Yep, yeah, all good. I do not have a problem with that. I cannot wake up the world. I have no desire to. But I have the desire to wake up as many people as I can in whatever non-threatening, non-violent way I possibly can. And now I know that sounds pretty strange to a lot of people who've known me from old, particularly the non-violent part. Yeah, I didn't mind a fight. I didn't mind threatening. Go back, watch some of my own old videos. I've told you what I was like. I was a horrible person. I hated myself. My industry drove me to that. I think I started telling you the story about my dad. My dad once said to me, "Why are you in such a bitchy industry? You can't trust anyone. They're always backbiting and bitchy bloody industry. They're always sticking knives in your back," he said. I said, "Dad, you have to understand one thing. In this industry, for every knife I'm catching in my back, I'm throwing 10. That's how the industry works. Sometimes you get hit." So I lived by that mantra for a long time, trying to get to the top of the craft. Turned me into an ego-driven, soulless drunk kind of person I hate. And thankfully I woke up. Took me longer than most people take to wake up, unfortunately. Took me till I was in my early 40s to wake up. And even then, it's taken me till my mid-50s to get to this point. So, yeah, I've done a lot of stupid things in my life. A lot of things I'm deeply, deeply ashamed of, deeply unhappy with. But I haven't killed anybody. I haven't raped anybody. I don't beat up women. I have beaten up a few blokes. But I've been beaten up a few times too. More times than I've been beaten up more times than I've done the beating. Let's make that clear. And violence isn't the way. It's just not. Violence is not the way. Education is the way. So, Cooker, all my life I've been a communicator. I've been able to have intelligent conversations with people on any subject, whether I agreed with them or not. I have taken exception, particularly, to the insults that have been levelled at Lieutenant Dan in Canberra. Now, initially, I paid no attention to what was going on in that regard, more out of ignorance and respect for the fact that I wasn't part of the Canberra crew. I wasn't there during any of the protests. I wasn't part of any of the movements, and nor have I ever been part of any of the movements, except for the hoops that I had to jump through to get my first interview with Ricardo Bosi. Now, I respected the people who were part of that, all of them, every little faction of them. I respected them all enough not to barge in there and try and make friends and do great things and try and change the bloody world with them, right? Because I had no right to. That looks like me coming to lord in over the top of what great work they had done. It's taken me nearly a year to get to Canberra and meet the Canberra Standers in person. There's a reason for that. Okay? It's because I haven't wanted to be associated in that way or looking like I am trying to take their limelight or in some way take the shine of the great way and work that those guys and girls do every day. I have taken particular exception to the insults that are levelled at Dan, but our return service personnel in particular. The level of disrespect and insult shown to our return service personnel is something I find completely unacceptable. Why? Probably starts from my great desire to have joined the Navy from a very early age. Didn't get there, nearly should have been in uniform, apparently didn't get the letter, but that's another story. But through my entire radio career, I have had a great deal of opportunity to experience to experience the military in all its guises, in all its forms, land, sea, and air. I have been very fortunate to do some things that civilians never get to see, let alone do. Ever seen a tank fire? Ever been the person who put the live round into the tank? Ever been the person who fired it? I have. Have you ever picked up a sniper rifle, lay down in a ditch all right, I didn't stay in it for days, but I did stay in it for a few hours and then try and hit a target 600 or 700 meters downrange? I have. Have you ever jumped out of a helicopter, an army helicopter? I have. There was a rope attached. I have sailed out of it. Have you ever done the fire course at HMAS Cerberus, where you're put in a little shed, given a gas mask? They bring in a pan full of crystals and shit, set it on fire, starts smoking. And when the room's nice and smoky, they rip off your face masks and you've got to sit there. And it's not like you can hold your breath. You must take a breath. You must get this shit into you, into your eyes, into your lungs, into your everything. And then after a certain period of time, you're allowed to exit that little room, at which point you, if you're anything like me, drop onto all fours, throw your heart up for the next 10 minutes. Everything comes out of just about every orifice in your body. There is snot tendrils for a kilometre coming out of you either side. Your ears are leaking. It is a very uncomfortable experience. I've done that. What else have I done? I've flown in F-111s. I've flown in an F-18. I've been on everything from a Navy patrol boat to a naval frigate, and not just for a ride or a walk on at dock. I've been out on them for days. I've had and been fortunate to have a lot of experiences that civilians and many people in the Defence Forces never have. And I'm thankful for those experiences. But now they just help me interpret things because I kind of have an understanding, and I've always had a great love and support of the military. It wasn't until I discovered who my biological parents were and that my biological father was a Vietnam veteran that the level of respect that I have, not just for Vietnam veterans, but veterans in general, became more finely honed. I was 28 when I met my biological father. He's dead now. He was a Nasho, a conscript, and was one of the first into Vietnam in 1967. He's a very peaceful, loving man. Nothing like me. I'm more like my mother. But him, he is one of those gentle people. Okay? But they drew his birthday out. And sure enough, off he went, did basic training. As the old Red Gum song goes, did Canungra and Shoal Water before he left. And went off to Vietnam. Turned out he was a pretty good shot. Back in those days, that meant you went at the front of the platoon on patrol. 30 metres or so, 20, 30 metres, whatever you could get into the jungle by yourself, looking for the people who were trying to shoot you. And he did that for a while. Eventually, as it would to a lot of people in the end, get to them. So they had him doing other bits of work. Security escorting. He didn't mind a beer, used to get into a bit of trouble. And they had him on jungle duty. He used to tell a very funny story about keeping the jungle back off the airstrip. I think it was at Nui Dat. And a particular pilot who used to love buzzing the guys who were on punishment duty, essentially trying to keep the jungle at bay from the edge of the airstrip. And he'd go wheels up and get 2 feet over their heads and buzz them before going vertical. My biological father had just finished covering the end of the runway, some acres, in a diesel Kero, and I suspect whatever other shit poison they were pouring out at the time mix, and saw this thing go wheels up at the other end of the runway and just level off and come straight towards him. At which point he took out his Zippo lighter and lit a cigarette, and just at the right moment threw the Zippo over his shoulder, where apparently the better part of an acre of jungle erupted into flames, and this jet had to fly through it at a very low level. After he got out of the jail, they gave him another job, which I'll tell you about another time. But at any rate, through meeting him, I became able to meet a number of veterans, and obviously Vietnam veterans, but that piqued my interest in veterans and return military in particular. I had seen in my earlier years, I'd met Vietnam veterans, and I didn't understand why they were having so many mental problems. I was a young, arrogant young man and thought, they're just a bit weak in the mind. You go to war, you expect you're going to go to war, you expect you're going to have to shoot someone, yada, yada, yada. All bullshit. And I was very insulting to some of those people that I met who weren't that much older than me at the time. And it was done so out of ignorance youth, as so many things are. So, Cooker, that's why I get a little bit protective about particularly what's said about Dan. Dan has done things for this country that you weren't prepared to do, that you have never considered doing, and that's probably because you're a bit like my dad, and that's okay. Nobody's forcing you to go and do it like they did my biological father. Dan wasn't forced. Dan chose, as far as I'm aware, there was no conscription for Dan. Dan chose to enlist. He chose to don the green and fight on our behalf so that you don't have to go and do it. And we owe Dan respect for that decision. So to denigrate what he does, and all he does every day is stand at the Governor General's and remind him of his obligation to us, the people. That's all Dan is doing. I watched him. I was lucky enough to go there one day, and I stood with them at 10 o'clock. And it's the first time I have seen the whole service, the whole stand, if you like. And if you'd ever attended it, you'd know just how moving it truly is. Dan stands at attention, even though he's in pain doing it because of certain injuries he's received. He stands at attention for that whole thing, other than the times where he's got to hand microphones around or, manipulate sound. Every day he says the same thing. Every day he asks the Governor General to do his job. Every day you attack him or your followers attack him, all you do in my mind is show your complete ignorance to what's actually going on here. And that ignorance is also to be semi-excused because it's designed to be hard to find the truth. And you've been taught something completely different and you believe it like you're meant to. So we're the ones that have to wind up showing the tolerance. We're the ones that have to wind up taking it on the chin. We're the ones that have to wind up hoping we can find a way through to you to at least make you curious why so many people that you yourself said on Ben Fordham's show, when asked how many people are in this movement, to quote you, you said everyone. You didn't say it once. You didn't say it twice. You said it a number of times. Everyone and anyone, everyone. Who's in this movement? Everyone. Well, it's clear not everyone is in this movement, but I can tell you there are a lot more in it than you think. You are so focused on how many numbers your tweets get and how amazing that all is. I don't care. I'm more motivated by hearing and seeing the reactions from people when I turn up, like I did at a service station today, in the middle of nowhere on the side of the Pacific Highway. All I needed was a wee and a drink, and yet I spent an hour on the side of the road talking to people, lovely, lovely, lovely people, a couple of sets of people, in fact, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Amazed, staggered, humbled that they recognised me. Very surprised and humbled by it. But I'm glad. And what they told me moved me, because apparently what I've said in the past has moved them. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful if you get something out of what I say. And if you don't get anything out of what I say, then I guess you're not going to watch, and you're certainly not going to friggin' donate or be a member. So, okay. That's what 40 years in radio lets me say. Okay, I can't be all things to all people. I don't want to be. That'd mean we're all the same. None of us have an opinion. But for those people who feel I can be something for them, then there is these platforms that you're watching me on now. And hopefully, with enough inspiration, enough input from you guys, a few more names on the roster, we'll bring that channel to you. For the people. Not for me. Not for Guru, not for Bosie, not for Cossack. For you. That's what this is about. And the whole thing will be to help you. Now, I've let the whole secret out of the bag. I have given away my ability to trade my worth in this. Okay? It takes us all to create it. I just know how to do it. I haven't got the ability to do it. I don't need a studio. Let's be clear. Okay? I'll tell you what I do need. I need wheels. But I do not need a studio. So let's put that out of the question. I have a studio. From this little one here to a whole big one I can take out into a venue that you provide, world, that you provide at a My Place or at a showground or on the side of the road at a free camp. That'll be the audience. I don't care whether there's 1 people or 100 people. I'm sitting here with 2 dogs and a daughter who's gone to sleep. And I've spoken for an hour. Do you think I need an audience to turn up and tell me how bloody great I am talking? I don't care. If you get something out of wanting to come and meet me, and I do get something out of meeting you, you have given my daughter back to me, our relationship, in a lot of cases, her mental health has been so aided by what our movement has given us. And that's not anything at all to do with financial, what they give me. And I tell you, I got a lot less than $500 in my bank account right now. So don't think anybody's making a fortune out of this, all right? Well, not anybody here anyway, all right? And it's going to be staying that way. I'm not going to be able to be bought. I'm aligning with people who won't be bought, like John Wilson. John and I have had a very good look at each other. I've had questions of him. He's had questions of me. We've looked each other in the eye and spoken directly. We're on the same page. We're fighting the same thing. This is a noble cause. Some of you might laugh at that, particularly you, Cooker. Noble, you might have to look up what it means, but it is a noble cause. Not doing it for me. He's not doing it for him. Guru's not doing it for himself. We're doing it all for you. What we need is a platform where you can find us all at a structured time and place. If it is something that advertisers felt they wanted to support, people who'd lost money in business, people who want to promote towns, people who want to see just how big the audience here is. And I can tell you that the audience is global. It's not Sydney, it's not Melbourne, it's not Brisbane, it's global. All of us have a global audience of one stature or another. And it's only growing. We are the new media. Some of us reluctantly. So whatever happens on mainstream media, it's going to be fucking horrific. That's what it's going to be. Absolutely horrific. And Guru is going to swing the first pick at whatever time on Monday morning that Ben Fordham, good on you, Ben, for stepping up. That's brave of you, has him on. And all power to him. Good on you, brother. I couldn't be happier for you. That's what I feel about that. Now, if you want to come on the show, Cooker, I'd love to have you. But you are under no threat from anybody here. No physical threat. There is no violence, no nothing here. But I don't have anonymous people. I say strong things. I'm prepared to put my name to them. You know who Dave Graham is. You know who the Aussie Cossack is. We don't hide behind names. We are open, we are honest, and you can check my history if you can. I've never tried. You might find something, well, nothing great. So if you want to come on, I need to know who you are. So maybe you want to still keep your anonymity. Well, I might be prepared to let you come on under Cooker, but not until I know who you are. And if you want a line of communication, all you had to do was look at one of my shows, because I don't know how many times I say Carl@VOFHQ.com. Carl with a C, in case you're confused. And love to have you on for a conversation. But that's where I come from regarding the attacks you make on the Canberra Standards, particularly Dan, but the others who are also attacked. And certainly there are some who do us as a group no favours. Some of them have problems, serious mental health problems and other things. I don't know what to say. Every group has people who need help. Rather than denigrate those people, find out how you can help them. Because what you're not seeing is cries of madness and stupidity. What you're seeing is cries for help, understanding, tolerance, education, awareness. You're just seeing it communicated in ways that those who are doing it know how to communicate. And sometimes it's done badly. I'll admit. Sometimes it can be done very well. So, there's my offer. If you want to come on and have a civilized conversation with somebody who's not going to yell at you, not call you names, and give you a fair line to start at, even Stevens, get in contact. Happy to talk. Because you might be part of the new media. We all can't be talking about the same thing. That'd be silly. But if you're going, and you seem to have an inquiring mind, you're just inquiring in the wrong places. So maybe we can have you inquire in some of the right places and see your reaction to that. And see if that sways your opinion on many of the things that you doubt and you claim is happening between those you refer to as sovereign citizens and the reality of the matter. If you're up for that, then I'd love to have you on. It's that simple. An hour and 7 minutes. I've driven for 9 hours today. And I haven't seen, I promise you, haven't listened to anything. All I've had is what Laura has told me. And that was like 3 or 4 sentences about, oh, shit, they're saying that you've gone at Guru. And I remember going to bed last night and thinking, oh, God, I laughed and said something stupid when that reaction hit. And somebody's going to get their nose out of joint about that or try and conflate it into something that it truly wasn't. I hope I've explained that to you tonight. I was laughing at the fact that my old industry is dead. This is the cornerstone about to be smashed. And it will be horrific to watch for me because I love that industry. I love it. But I hate what it did to me. I hate what it's doing to people today. And I really hate that the bastards are getting a year tax-free and a $13 to $15 million injection of our funds for keeping us quiet, for not allowing us the free speech that we are, our God in heaven given right to be able to speak freely on matters, to have an opinion, and to be heard, denied us by media in this country and media around the world, mainstream media around the world. They are paying infiltrators. They are paying people. And Cooker, if you don't believe that, then you are doing nowhere near the level of research you need to be doing. So that's my offer. If you want to come on, happy to have you on. I will talk to Guru at some stage. I'm absolutely knackered now. I'm going to bed. But I'll talk to him tomorrow probably. Actually, tomorrow I'm catching up with John Wilson at some stage too. So I don't know. We might, if it's a beautiful day, we might go and sit out there on the pointy bit of the boat and do a live from there. We won't be able to see the screen if it's a bright day, but well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah. So Cooker, you and your meme mates. I see the larrikins are still floating around. I haven't been looking at the comments at all. So if you've been talking about this in any way, shape, or form, folks, I haven't seen it. And to be honest, I am not going to go too much through looking for him. Thank you, Redmond. You're stuck out because it's really long. Continue exactly as you are. Hard on sleeve. Well, listen. Truth. Trust. All I can trade on is trust, folks. If you don't trust me, I got nothing. You can trust me that I'm not going to build my empire on the back of you. Okay? You can trust that anything you donate is accounted for. And very shortly, we'll announce some news. Exciting news for me. It's not earth-shattering news. We haven't achieved any major goals. But personally, there will be an announcement where the Voice of Freedom becomes aligned with some people who I have nothing but the greatest and highest respect for and trust of. And with what I'm doing, I need to be careful with who I align. Because there are many infiltrators out there, Cooker, many. They all come offering money. They all come offering what you need. They all come sounding great. And they come at the time where you need them most. And then there are others who are also coming at that time who may not be able to offer as much, at least dollars-wise, but who come with other things. Integrity, honesty, truth. And they've withstood me staring in the eye asking hard questions, if you want to look at it that way. Because when you meet me, and if we get into that sort of a conversation, you will look into these eyes. I will ask you direct questions. And I'm very good at reading people face to face. And I'll know whether you're in this with us or whether you're not. I say it again. Guru, Bosie, Aussie Cossack, and reluctantly me, and maybe a few others that I've identified, are the new media in this country. We don't have a platform yet because it costs a bit of money, but it costs a fraction of the tax rebate money these mainstream media companies are going to get. A fraction. They are going to cop hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in tax break. Did your business get that? Did mine? Did your business get a $13 to $15 million cash injection, pat on the back for the revenue you lost during the lockdowns and pandemic? Mine didn't. Why do they? They don't deserve the trust that you have, folks, that you've placed in them. And that's why I got a bit upset last night, because some friends of mine had been to Lismore and told me what they'd seen there, only yesterday. So you got me at a raw moment about that, but I do feel very strongly about it, and I have avoided Lismore for other reasons. Some out of respect, some out of some of the people that live around there problematic, and I'm not interested in entering into a conversation with them or entertaining them on this program in any way, shape or form, whether they're shouting from the back of a hall or sitting in front of a microphone. Just not interested. These are people I've identified as not having enough talent for what we need to create in the future for all of us. That doesn't mean these are people who were saying things that I don't agree with. Far from it in some cases. I just don't think they have the ability to attract the audience they think they do. So we shall see. J11, thank you, man. Really appreciate that. Yes, in fact, I'll have Dan on the show again soon. He's having a little time off at the moment because, well, let's face it, folks, the cookers, and I believe I'm live on Cooker Watch at the moment. If I knew how to find it, I'd come over and look, but I don't. I don't know that any of you really understand what a military man suffering PTSD goes through. I can tell you, because it was an eye-opening experience when I met my biological father. He was a shattered man, ready to kill himself. Came out one day, found him tying a noose, perfect noose. You know what I learned that day? I learned he was going to kill himself, and I learned how to tie a noose by untying it. This happens on a daily basis. Our veterans are killing themselves. Our Department of Veterans Affairs is treating our veterans in the most appalling manners. This has to change. But it's not going to change by the government we seem to be currently electing, or the opposition that are saying we should elect them next time round. How's that going to change? That's going to change by we the people providing a solution, a unified solution, something for us. I have a plan for us, folks, too. The unified solution. It's about us. And if you want a political party, then let's have one. Let's have a party for the people. Let's call it the unified solution. And on a ballot box, just tick the box that says us. That is a solution. Then all we have to do is figure out who's counting the votes. So I have a unified solution plan. I just was talked out of it by Fitz because he was horrified, absolutely horrified, and he will be when he hears what I've just said, that I was going to start a party because it's against everything in Magna Carta and all that. And I said, well, you know, we can Trojan horse them, mate. You know, we get enough people into it. You know, we get enough people to vote us in. We get enough. But this is exactly what A1's about. Not so much Trojan horse. Ricardo said that's the plan. Get enough people in, we'll change it. It's that simple. All you got to do is vote them. Now, that means you've got to stand people up in every seat. Every seat. And A1 were unable to do that for whatever reasons. That doesn't make their plan bad. I have some issues with A1's execution in a number of areas, and certainly communication. I've got a big issue with communication because there is none. Now, you take that for what you will. They don't like me anymore. I don't know. I haven't been told that. I haven't been made aware of that. The last conversation Ricardo and I had was just before Christmas. They were very, very busy. I said, will you come on before the end of the year? He said, no, can't do that. I said, the first week of the year? He said, yeah, can do that. I said, all right, I'll be in touch. I was sick the first week of the year with my neck, my back, and God knows whatever else I'd put out. And I've been contacting them every week since. I've sent a couple of text messages. The last one was reasonably blunt, but not disrespectful. I don't mean to be disrespectful for the Boseys in any way, shape or form, nor did Dave. I believe them. I believe in them. They are the way forward. I have no doubt about that. Do I believe everything they're saying? Well, this is a war. And if you think Bosey is who you think he is, then don't you think there could be some things that we're being shown, not the Boseys are creating, because they're generally showing intel from other parts of the world, but there is a secret war going on. If you're not prepared to believe that, then, let's have a conversation. I'll try and prove it to you, but you have to have an open mind. You have to have an inquiring mind. I'll set you on the path. You go down it and have a look. I'm not going to send you on a path that will give you PTSD. You won't click a button and find frazzle drip, okay? I won't do that to you, but I will give you a path that you can investigate if you choose to, because I can't give you an answer, as Guru won't be able to give Ben an answer, and I'm sure he's aware of this. We can't answer all the questions you have about what's actually going on in 3 minutes or 5 minutes or an hour. We can't, because it is so deep, it is so dark, it is so evil, and has been going for over 2,000 years. That's what I believe. So if that makes me a cooker, so be it. But if you'd like to come on and debate me about it, ask me why somebody who many people seem to think is mildly intelligent and at least asks reasonable questions and seems to be honest, because I only want to be honest. I don't seem it. I am it. I'm happy to have you on, happy to talk to you, but I need to know your name, because anonymous is not noble, not brave. Do you want to step up to the fight, or do you just want to be a distraction, Cooker? And everyone watching on Cooker Watch. Prove me wrong, prove Guru wrong, prove Bosie wrong, laugh at the Aussie Cossack. I haven't had the opportunity to tell him, God love him, but I think where the Aussie Cossack's made his biggest mistake is he's called himself a journalist. He needs to call himself a comedian, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word. A, because he's very entertaining, he's very funny, he's very biting, his satirical comedy is top-notch. And why? Because every one of his satirical messages has a very strong message to it that resonates with people. If it didn't, he wouldn't have 150, whatever it is, 1,000 people following him. And God love him for it. Don't try and be the journalist. Be the entertainer. Be the entertainer that spears people with truth. Can't lock up comedians the same way you can lock up journalists either. Just a tip. So, there are secrets in the media game. Secrets to how it's played, words they use, techniques they have. It's unlikely that 2GB would ever invite me on because I know them all. I would stipulate a few things, and they probably wouldn't agree to them. So if they want to come on anything and talk to me, come on to my show. You know, they'll tell you that I have no audience, so I have no audience. Come on. Don't tell anybody you're coming on. Just ring me. You know, Ben's got my phone number. Ring me. I won't promote it because it's not about views for me. People will come and see it later. If it's on YouTube, they'll come and watch it later if they have any interest in hearing it. All right? But I won't promote it. Come over and have a chat. Let's see what happens. You've caught me at a weak moment. Very tired. Lovely people. Shit, there's a lot of stuff in the chat. Have you ever streamed to Twitch? Sue. Short answer, no. We'll need to look into it. Me, social media, beyond Facebook, which really I only now use to upset people, mostly at Facebook. That's about it. I have an Instagram. I couldn't tell you what it's called. And the Twitter account, which we are on at the moment, but I don't think Twitter allows live streaming video for whatever reason, is called Auseys, AUSEYES-VOF : oh no, that's the show. Anyway, that's how much I know about Twitter. Auseys, AUSEYES, capital A, capital E. You can leave a comment if you like. I might see it one day. I have no intention of being involved. Queen Annabella. Who am I trying to impress? What did I say that I was trying to impress someone? I'm trying to impress anyone except you. And I'm only trying to impress you with one thing, and that is I do this for you, not for anything else. And this is the way I can do it. I can go out and I can create a radio station or a television station anywhere, in your backyard, in your town, in your city, anywhere. With the right sort of backing, with the right sort of sway and access, we'll be able to bring the views of politicians, the views of the people together. There will be no mistake about how the people feel because you will have a platform to argue it out on. It doesn't have to be what you... If you don't agree with me, that's fine. VoF won't be a one-barrel platform. You will be able to disagree and be able to walk away and be happy with it. That's what it's about. open discourse, honesty, truth. But if you are coming to peddle misinformation, if you're coming to peddle bullshit, if you're coming to insult people, that's not this platform that I'm trying to build, and you won't last long on it. Maybe in the entertainment kind of shows that we'll cut up and make, what we call clip shows out of. But beyond that, beyond being a laughing point for a brief 10 seconds in the middle of an ad break somewhere, you won't be important. So, do you want to be important? Come and learn. Come and learn why so many people think like I do, apparently, and like Guru does, and certainly like the Aussie Cossack does, and certainly like Ricardo and Rhiannon Bosie. I heard someone refer to Rhiannon the other day in a very, I found it insulting manner. I'm not going to repeat what was said. But to that person, you've clearly never spent any time in a wheelchair whatsoever. So aside from all those Army, Navy, Air Force things that I've been very lucky to do, I was also very lucky to spend 9 days in a wheelchair. Doesn't matter why, but I spent 9 days in a wheelchair not being able to walk. You have no idea of the impact that creates on your life. And I was lucky enough to escape it after 9 days. To be as insulting, as derogatory, as weak as to pick such low-hanging fruit is just a sign of the kind of person you are, and certainly not the kind of person that I think has any understanding of what this movement is about. And you aren't likely to. You're going to go to your grave with no idea. And good luck to you. I wish you all the best. No harm, no foul. That doesn't give you the right to abuse me into mine. And it certainly gives you no right to abuse veterans into theirs. Unless you've fought, unless you've put on the uniform, unless you've lived with the results of what comes back from those who have, keep your mouth shut if you can't say anything nice at all. That would be my advice. And what else is in there? Father-in-law suffered for 3 years on the death railway. Yep. So many of our heroes. The meaning of Anzac has been lost, and it's been deliberately lost. Our government has deliberately done it. It's disgusting. And our media has been complicit in it. That's why they're getting, in part, their great tax rebate. A whole year, tax-free. Imagine how much money they're going to make out of that. You spending money this year with those radio stations? Why don't you ask them for a discount as they're getting it tax-free? Next time the sales rep pops up and asks you for $200,000, $2,000, $20,000, $200,000, why don't you ask them, what's the tax-free fee? Because they're not paying tax on it. So that'd be my bet. Anyway, had enough. God, I can't even find the bottom of these comments. So, hi, Coral. Yeah. Do I want, hang on, Tash must have said something here. What have you said, Tasha Marie? Yet you want Cooker Watch to expose themselves to your nutbags. Well, I've already said, whatever conflated anxiety you have here, anxious Aussie censored, another coward without a name, whatever anxiety you're feeling, it's made up. Nobody's coming after you. Everybody is allowed to have an opinion. What you're not genuinely, in good company, good polite company allowed to do is to verbally attack someone, to verbally insult them, to make accusations against them, to cast aspersions, to dismiss anything they say as crazy shit. Or to pick as examples of these people who are mentally troubled, physically troubled, struggling with addictions of different kinds, and using them as the example of the movement. That's where you're wrong. I'm an example of the movement. A lot of the people in this chat are examples of the movement. They're not crazy. We're not pissing our hair out and, swearing at the Governor General or swearing at the Prime Minister or carrying on like pork chops. We are raising questions. We are wondering why we're not getting answers. We are wondering why, when we ask genuine, serious questions and can present evidence to back up the answers we suspect are true, we can't get those questions heard. We can't get them heard by some of the people we're asking, much less get them on mainstream media to ask. Dave Graham has hit the jackpot. Monday morning, he's on mainstream media. He can ask them a lot of questions. Make them accountable. We do not need to justify our movement to the dying media. We do not need to justify our existence to them at all. Yes, this is a new movement. Yes, this is a new media. Yes, mistakes are going to be made. But the intention is always the same. The mistakes I make are genuine and I will own them. 100%. I will own them every time for you. But if I make a decision that results in it being a mistake, the reason I made the decision will be because I felt it was the right thing after reviewing it as many ways as I felt I was able to. It was the right thing for we, the people, not me, the person. That's how I make my decisions. Whether you believe me or not, that's up to you. As I said, I live and die on whether or not you stay on here and watch. If I wake up one morning and find nobody's watched a video, then that's a pretty good indication that whatever I said in it wasn't worth watching or YouTube blocked you seeing it. Which one's more likely? At the moment, it's a bit 50-50, I guess. J1, thank you so much for your stickers tonight. And somebody else threw a sticker in, which I think has disappeared. It's probably Sunshine if she's around. Alex, oh, God, Sandy, bloody wonderful woman. Maria, thank you so much. I'm just scrolling through. So I'm not reading any of the comments other than ones that happen to just God strikes me and says, you've got to read that. Hang on, here's one. Carl, do you believe like Guru is made out of baby meat? Yes. Not just McDonald's. Every fast food meat, every processed meat you are eating. Yes. Why do I believe that, you should say? What would make a bloke like me believe something like that? Well, I did some research into a company called JBS. Go back to about 1973 in America. Research JBS. Research who they are, what they do, who they stocked, and what was found in McDonald's restaurants in 1973 in meat stocks going to McDonald's restaurants. Yes. 1973 is a long time ago. Yes, it is. And I can't explain it to you in enough detail now because it's just too late in the night and I couldn't be bothered after the drive. But if you go down that rabbit hole, you will find it will lead you to others. Supply chains, companies bought, years passed, dominations made, countries supplied. The business of adrenochrome is not limited to any one country. And they still have to get rid of a lot of bodies. Last count, apparently, no, because it'll probably get me banned on YouTube. So anyway, there are in excess of 30,000 missing Australians every year. Ever wonder where they go? No, maybe you should do some research. Don't wait for me to tell you just so you can deny it. Get off your ass. Go and look. Told you where to go. That would be my advice to you. Something about Ricardo. Ricardo is extremely busy. He has a mountain of things to do in a short amount of time to get them done. When he can spare some time, to update us, he will. Paul, thank you. Yes, I believe that'll be the case. He seems to have time every day to do a bit of an update at the moment on Aussie One, so find him there. That'd be my advice. He seems to be appearing on Guru a fair bit too, so find him there. It's all good. He doesn't have to come on my show to find him. You can go and see Ricardo wherever he appears. There is no umbilical cord between Ricardo and me. There is, well, at least on my behalf, and I'm unaware of any on his, any bad blood between us. Guru and I have had a couple of disagreements. Well, one disagreement about something. We worked that out. We hugged that out. We sorted that out. Now we're working the way we work. Done for a reason, and look how successful it's been. It's got Guru on Ben Fordham's show. All is not as it seems, Cooker. All is not as it seems, particularly if you're only looking in one dimension, hey? Be careful, Cooker. There are a lot of dickheads on the road.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!